Views expressed by any of the guests appearing on the locals are not necessarily the views of the host of the locals or the underwriters of the locals.
Good day, everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of The Locals, your talk podcast all about everybody's favorite place, Cape May, New Jersey, and the surrounding area. Good show lined up today. I've been looking forward to the show, and not a lot of you have. I know that. And so stand by. We're going to introduce our guest in just a second. This is episode 137, zooming on February the 3rd, 2021. And you'll find this link on 3 group pages on Facebook: Locals of Cape May Live, and Cool Cape May. And then John will get the link up. It'll be available on the SoundCloud app, iTunes, and at harpoonsonthebay.com website. Our underwriters on the locals are Cape Assist out of Wildwood, the Exit Zero filling station of West Cape May, and Uncle Bill's Pancake House in North Cape May, because the Cape May location is currently closed for the season. All right, my name is Ed McDonough, host and moderator on the show, and the rest of your locals today are Joe
McLaughlin, ad representative for Cape May Mac and owner of Seashore Sound.
Brady.
Good morning. I'm Brady Schoenrock. I am the proprietor of Harpoons on the Bay in North Cape May.
Wendy.
Good morning, Wendy Collins, co-owner of the Mission Inn out on New Jersey Avenue, Curious Cape May Bike Tours, and Ripple and Root Gift Shop over in West Cape May, all 3 of which are on a brief hiatus until the beginning of March.
Ripple and Root sounds like it would be a good place to go drink.
Is there a bad place?
That's true. No.
At this stage of the game, any place would be fine.
There's no good bad place.
I think most of our listeners remember Ripple.
That was an old drink. Yep.
John.
Good morning. I'm John Cook. I'm the general manager of the Seacrest Inn on the corner of Beach and Broadway. I'm also the writer for the Cook Cape May blog, occasional photographer for Cape May's oldest newspaper, actually one of the country's oldest newspapers, the Star and Wave, and author of the IPA report, according to Ed, apparently.
You and Brady on that one. And folks, if you're ever walking around town and you recognize John Cook, do not be afraid to ask the man a question about Cape May, okay? He will be more than happy to help you out.
I get text messages and questions all the time, so something's up.
He is the walking barometer of Cape May. I got to tell you, after reading our guest's resume, 30 minutes later, I was very impressed.
Because it took you 30 minutes to read it.
Yeah.
Resumes are supposed to be small, but when you want to talk about yourself, you got to do it.
I didn't know you meant because it was a long resume. I thought you meant you were a really slow reader.
Oh,
or it was boring and you fell asleep.
Good one, Wendy. Good one.
Actually, very impressed, Deacon. And with that, we'll let Johnny Cook introduce you.
Well, it's my pleasure to introduce a man I would call my friend, and a man that is also a local into the Cape May community, not just because we say we are on the show, but Dekon Fashaw Sr. is a genuine local, born and bred here in Cape May. He's been involved in law enforcement for at least 25 years, covering everything from the prosecutor's office, the Coast Guard, West Cape May. He's a town bank fireman, certified firefighter. And Dekon, I tell you, the one line on your resume that really stood out to me was the time that you were the liaison to the training center here in Cape May. And I'm almost thinking that those dates crossed paths with when my brother Dan was he was like the station agent or the agent in charge of Coast Guard Investigative Services over there. And
He was,
he
absolutely.
has, ever since I moved here, my brother spoke highly of you. And that is all proven to be true. And welcome to the locals, Chief
Thank you.
Fashaw.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You know, Deacon,
Go ahead.
I want to say real quick, Deacon, that email that you sent to the group,
Yep.
your opening paragraphs is exactly what we wanted to do. That's what we were looking for in doing the show. So you nailed it. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome. Try to give you some points, though, just a little bit about me so you knew who I was, where I was coming from, and, make it a little bit easier. So I know most of you, Wendy and I, we've spoken a few times, but I know most of you from Cape May. That's what we are.
So how's it feel 2 days in?
I would say it's surreal. It's been a very busy few weeks leading up to this, a long career leading up to this, and I think there's going to be some challenges, but I'm ready for that. Our staff is ready for that. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. There's no doubt. But we're going to move forward and do the thing.
Well, first and foremost, I know we got a lot of questions and topics, but big congratulations. I mean, I think from all of us, because congratulations for not only a great career, but this great opportunity to take the next step.
Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate that.
And also congratulations to our retired police chief, Anthony Marino, 30 years of service. Thank you for your service. Great job.
Yeah, to say that about Chief Marino, I appreciate that. It's exactly who he was, who he is, a mentor to me. He's, a good friend. We've been friends for a long time. We worked detectives together when I first came back from the prosecutor's office here. He's always had my back. He's told me from right from wrong. He and Barbara, his wife, are very close friends, and they guide me at times. You need that. It's like almost like a second father, almost a brother, though.
Hey, Deacon, let's start with a bio on you for our audience that may not know you that well.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you take us back to the beginning, how you wound up as a local here in North Cape May, born and raised, etc.
Well, as you read there, I'm 45 years old. I've been here since I was about 4. I was born in Ocala, but my mother was from this area. We summered here. We were that Philly family that came from Darby and in that area and summered in the villas. My mother went to Florida, where I was born, brought me back here to Cape May area. We lived in West Cape May for a long time actually. Went to West Cape May Elementary. I left West Cape May for a short time and went to Star of the Sea, where I was in Catholic school for some time in Cape May Star of the Sea, with Sister June and Beat Bisagno and the like, where they kind of structured me into doing right and wrong as Catholic school kids can do. So left there, obviously attended lower regional schools, school system. At some point during that time, I decided to entertain the idea about becoming a fireman. There were a lot of things that led up to that. Prior to me becoming a fireman and becoming a police officer, a lot of people shaped who I am today and molded me. A lot of situations changed my life for the better. Even as hard as they were for the better. It allowed me to grow into who I am. And important people in my life, my mother, who absolutely is my rock. She is the person that has guided me most off and led me to who I am. I wouldn't be here without her. My stepfather, Richard, he was a good man. He's passed on. He was an Army man. He kind of had that structure of just doing the right thing, shining your shoes, making sure you were, that you were respected, because respect is earned, not given. Just because I have this star and this badge doesn't mean I'm better than you. It just means I'm a part of something. So you have to earn respect. I'll earn all the people that I work with respect, and we move forward.
And I want to just interject here for a second, because I may be the only one that have seen the actual swearing in ceremony. And as I was reviewing it on my phone while I was picking up takeout at the Seaview, I was texting Deacon. There's a moment where he speaks about his mother and he actually gets choked up in front of all of his coworkers and these, rah-rah, policemen in the audience. And it spoke to me because, I mean, I'm certainly not a mama's boy, but, when you have that kind of respect and background, it speaks volumes.
Yeah,
Not to choke you up right now.
No, it's fine, John. It's okay. I did get choked up with my mom and speaking about her because she's my heart and she's the person that I love in this life, and she's very important to me, and I couldn't have done it without her. So yeah, and not that I wouldn't cry about my father or my girlfriend Christine or my children. I just your mother is always your mother. You only get one.
And speaking of influential people and the materials that you provided us, it sounded like you had a couple of good mentors or great mentors.
I did.
Not just Chief Marino and your mother. Talk a little bit about the people that kind of guided you into this line of work.
There were, like I said, there were some situations in my life that led me into police work as a young youth growing up in Cape May, when at a time you could skate, then you couldn't skateboard in town. There was different rules and regulations. Surfing in Cape May, I was a Boy Scout here in Cape May, and I bumped into the police a lot. We used to go to the teen dances up at Convention Hall when they had the teen dances, and one individual, Sergeant William Alvarez, spoke to me generally. He always bumped into me. I always bumped into him, and we were friends. He was a police officer, and I looked up to him. He always saw me either gravitating towards the wrong group or doing something silly, and he seemed to pull me back in, and he kind of forced my way and forced the application into my hand at one point and was like, listen, you need to do something with your life. I want to see you're a good kid. I worked at Figaro's Pizza when it was here, with the Kleinberger family, and who they were like my second family, my Cape May family, the Kleinbergers, and Rich Myers from Import Bazaar and that family there. So Bill was important to me because he focused me in when I could have went a lot of ways. I could have went on the scallop boats. I could have went into narcotics. I could have went into doing very wrong things at the time in the 90s when I was growing up in the 80s. So influential, to say the least.
So that was your sort of defining moment to lead you to the police force.
It was. I would say it was defining. Like I said, with Bill, I call him Bill, Sergeant Alvarez. He focused me, and I had a lot of traumatic things that happened to me during that time. Ed, you and I have spoken about him. John, you've read about him. You've all read. I don't shy away from it because there are important parts of my life that made me stronger. My house burned down. It kind of led me into being a fireman. In Town Bank and Irma fire companies came and put my house out. And I was working in Cape May at a restaurant called the Latuck at the time. And, I came home, I go over the West Cape May Bridge. My mother and I are driving home and I see my house on fire. And I'm like, wow, we're losing everything. But at that same moment, I realized these men and women that were out there fighting that fire were volunteers. And nothing against the paid service or anything like that. But these men and women got out of their beds during the morning, put my house fire out, saved some of my perishables and my family memories. And that led me into being a fireman. That led me into being what I wanted to do. I was enamored by their courage and struggle because my house really burnt down. And some things after that, the murder of my brother, Maxie Fashaw, in Wildwood, that was traumatic for me. And at that point, my mother sat me down and said, listen, you need to make a decision. You need to make a decision that's going to be life-changing. Either you're going to hang with these people that are associated with who killed your brother or the kids you're hanging out with in school and, guide yourself, and I knew living under her roof, there was no other way. So I could do right. I could leave and go do something else, but I wouldn't eat. So I had to make a decision.
That episode with your brother, Dekon, that happened in Wildwood?
Yeah, I was in the city of Wildwood. There was an unfortunate incident, in Wildwood. I actually saw him earlier in the evening, that evening. My brother and I, we didn't grow up together, but we were close later on in time. He was busy in his life and raising his kids. He was older than me, 25. And I saw him earlier in the evening, and, he was kind of busting my chops a little bit about hanging over near Wildwood, near the bowling alley. He's like, hey, get your little butt back to Cape May. You're a Cape May kid, stay over there. Because Wildwood at the time was very different. There was a lot of narcotics. There was a lot of activity. You know, you had the boardwalk, then you had walking in a little further, the mall, you know, the business district, but then you had, you know, Commissioner's Court, and that's where my brother lived, and my, you know, some of my family. So um, he was murdered there by some gentlemen that came from Los Angeles to do right from wrong. They were running from another homicide, and they came in contact with my brother, and my brother was a strong man. He fought them. You know, he fought the one man, he beat him, and they decided to pull out guns because he won. And in the end of it, he lost. So he had a lot of decisions that he needed to make. He could have cowered and ran back into the brick building behind a steel door, but his children were behind that door. And my sister and her family were there, and he decided to, instead of running into that building, he stood his ground. Right from wrong, he's not here anymore, but he made a decision to not let his children be killed. So
How
that's
old were you then, Deacon?
15, you know, 15 years old or so.
You were
Young. It, you know, it was very impressionable. You know, I mean, either I could have, pardon the word, thugged out and been different, or owned it and learned from it. And I learned from it. And like after that situation, a really good friend of mine, Ricky Sini, had an unfortunate incident here in Cape May in Broad Street Court, and you know, he took his life. And you know, it was a situation that really changed me. I was really angry at life, and at that point is when I reached out for Bill Alvarez. I was angry at life. I wanted to do wrong. He saw me coming from the old Wawa down here on Broad Street, and he said, you know, what's wrong with you? I was crying. I was upset. You know, I was probably dressed down and, you know, in my attire, and he, you know, he made me go home and reread that application. And a few years later, I decided this is what I'm going to do. Being a member of the West Cape May Fire Department, I was around a lot of older gentlemen, Bud Dehart, Glenn Reeves, and Chuck McPherson. They kind of guided me into, you know, doing right, because I was around elders. I respect my elders, and I couldn't be a hood. I couldn't be a thug. I couldn't be something wrong. I couldn't be this skate kid coming in there with my, you know, acting a fool. You had to grow up really quick. And at 17, 18 years old, I had to grow up. That threw me into becoming a fireman, and I was interacting with the Cape May Police Department, and I liked the uniform. Maybe I was a little scared about going into the military, but you know, because I am a mama's boy, John, so I didn't want to leave my mom. I was going to college, but you know, I come from a strong Italian family, you know what I mean? So my father is black, my mother is Italian. You know, we did the ancestry thing a year ago, and you know, I'm 49% Italian, and the rest of me is a mixture of whatever, Cameroon and everything else, but my mom is 98% Italian. So I own that. I love being a black man, but I love being an Italian man because I can eat whatever I want. And what you see below here is a testament of that. So it's who I am a little bit.
It's a shame they hired somebody with no personality, guys, to run this.
I can talk. You know, you may not like me, but you'll learn to love me. So.
Hey, Deacon, did you, when you were a child growing up down here, and you, after you saw what you saw in Wildwood, did you ever think you were ready to stray on the wrong path of life?
Yeah, I absolutely could have made a lot. You know, I'm not a perfect man, so I really own that. I could have definitely went the wrong way with that. As angry as I was, and at the time how things were with the world, my path could have been completely different. And with the love of my family and the strength of the men and the women in the fire department and the police department, that was my new family, and I knew no other. The blue family and the red family of the fire department, I knew no other. So I'm fortunate for that. And Ed, you and I know each other from the cable company, so I was around a lot of people. I worked at TKR back in the day in Wildwood. I was hired on a communications grant. They put me through college. You know, my mother, you know, she worked very hard, worked for the state, and you know, she could afford so much things, but you know, college wasn't really in my wheelhouse, and I didn't want to stress her out with having to pay for it. But she did everything she could to make that happen. My grandmother as well, Edith, my heart as well. But my mom and the cable company, we put things together, and you know, working with Nick Thompson and the group there, Pete Berkowitz, you know, they were able to put me through college, and I decided to become a police officer, but they understood that because they knew who I was.
Yeah, there were some good days over there, Deacon.
Absolutely. I could talk forever about me. You can ask me questions, whatever you like.
That's awesome. That's the whole point. One of the things that I was struck with reading some of the documentation that you sent over, switching from the past to the future a little bit, was some of your vision for the plans for the Cape May Police Department. You got a long list of things that I know are on an agenda that you want to try to work through. What in your mind would be, where do you start? What's the top priority for you this coming in on day number 3? Where's your focus?
To breathe and to not move quickly. There's no reason to change or reinvent the wheel. We have had a lot of challenges and uphill battles over the last couple of years. And in 2016, when Chief Marino took over, he promoted myself and Lieutenant Bovic to lieutenants. He sat us down and just said, we need to do better. We need to focus on this department. He had a list, which I'm still looking at here in his office, which I took over, of agendas, what we're going to do in 2 years, what we're going to do in 3 years, what we're going to do in 4 years. And really the focus was the men and women of this department and to make sure that we were better than the day before. So we work in a very unique area. And I think the thing for me is to not make too many changes quickly. I've read a lot of books and studying for courses and taking promotional exams. And it's, you don't change, the first 6 months, just review, look at what you have going on, look at policy. And, working in politics is not easy for me because sometimes you want to speak when you can't. And that's biting my tongue is hard sometimes. So a good friend of mine, Clinton Van Berry, told me stay out of the politics. But in this position, it's very hard. I respect politics. I just have to learn how to deal with it in a police fashion.
And Wendy, he's going to become the chief of taglines. In his remarks after being sworn in, he did reference Cape May Strong several times. I've heard him use the expression compassionate enforcement, which I think is a great thing. But he also said something else in his remarks, which it was amazing. He said, come to Cape May for vacation, don't leave on probation. And 100%. I was like, I hope you don't mind me quoting you there, Deacon, but that was a great line.
I won't lie. That line, excuse me, that line was from my academy days as a class 2 when I went to the police academy. We used that on our T-shirts. It was don't come here on vacation and go home on probation. I strongly agree with that. I want you to come here. Anybody listening, anybody watching, vacationing or living, come to Cape May, West Cape May, and Cape May Point. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy our many eateries. Enjoy our culture. We have a lot of culture here, a lot of history that we respect. Everyone in this group, everybody on this platform, everybody watching. If you're watching the locals, you're Cape May, and you're not just being nosy. You're watching for a reason. So I want people to come here and treat this like your hometown. We welcome you, but don't come here and act a fool because we're not going to deal with that. We're not going to tolerate that. I won't. Our staff won't, and I know our council won't. And either one, the borough commissioners won't deal with it. The city council here won't deal with it, nor will the Cape May County Prosecutor's Office deal with it. So enjoy yourself. Enjoy our beaches. Come here on vacation. Do not leave on probation.
Love it.
That is a great line.
I love it. I love it. And I've been in some of the finest establishments in our town without naming names. And I've seen some of our vacationers not act like the best behavior. And I've seen, Officer Fashaw act with that compassionate enforcement, so, we want people to have a good time. I mean, we're in the hospitality business.
We are.
I'm going to steal one. Come for the hospitality, not the hospital.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I don't want people coming here and just thinking they could just do whatever they want to do. But, within reason, we will be compassionate, like you talked about, John, compassionate in our law enforcement initiative, but understanding we're mindful of our job. The city of Cape May, the borough of Cape May Point, West Cape May, we took oaths as officers here to protect and serve. That's not a tagline. That's our credo. Our mission statement is clear of what we need to do. I come from a lot of people that were before me, so they paved the way. I just have to continue making sure it's green and it's challenging. So we need to do the best we can.
In your new position, Deacon, are we going to see you out and about at various events? I mean, a lot of my interaction with you, obviously, has been at events all over the city.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss that part of it a little bit, but I will make the promise. And I've spoken to a lot of people. The Desatnik Foundation's asked me to make sure I come to their events. Melissa Payne from the MAC and Jody, and Doreen Talley from the Chamber, who I work very well with, all those groups. I'm maybe missing some people, but I've made it my goal to do my business work during the week. A lot of these events are on the weekends or in the early morning hours. You're going to still see me out there. I can't sit behind this desk all day. I need to budget my time, do what I can do during the day to get all this work done, make sure that the city manager and I interact weekly and we deal with what we have to deal with for the city so we can move forward. I need to make sure that our staff is connected. It's hard for me to connect because we're in 2 buildings, and we can discuss the buildings and we can go into that. But as an administrator, I watched Chief Marino struggle with that over the years. He did very well with it because he would do his work here in the office and then he would travel over to West Cape May. We're Italian, so we break bread. Okay, so he's Italian, I'm Italian. We break bread. He made a point of breaking bread with his staff every day, if not for coffee, but for lunch, because it's important to know your people, see if they're having a bad day, talk about their children and families. It's important, and it's hard to do from 2 places. And it's in the summertime, driving from here in Cape May City on Washington Street all the way over to West Cape May. It's a challenge, and then running back to Cape May for a meeting and interacting. So I'll be out there in the public because I love the public. That's where I do best. So I got to learn how to talk slower and breathe, like John told me, which I do. But I love people.
You're doing a good job.
I can deal with people better than I can deal with politics, but I'll do my best. I want to be out there. So Joe, I'll be out there. You'll see me.
Deacon,
Good to know you're going to be out and about, because I think it's really important to interact with the public.
It is.
Be seen, be visible, and I think it gives everybody, especially this past season, some of the minor events that we did have.
Mm-hmm.
It just made people feel even more safe.
Yeah,
than they did.
There's a lot of hours that go into those events. We are in a different place right now with how I structure events. I went to a lot of schooling, Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness. I'm a doomsday prepper, so don't get me wrong. It's not if, it's when. Some group will challenge this little town, this little island. I call it an island because we're 3 different towns. Someone will challenge us, but there's not going to be a day that myself or my staff is not going to stand on the stand and go, well, be questioned. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that extra mile to bring the K-9 unit in from the Sheriff's Department? Or come in a little earlier and get boots on the ground and see. There's a movie that I love, We Are Soldiers, with Mel Gibson. He's, if you look at that general, he was the first boot on the ground and the last boot off the ground. That's my plan, and that's my attack, and that's how I ran my events, where I want to be the first in and the last out. For 4th of July, for the Christmas parade. There's a lot of things that go on behind these events that you don't know, and I won't even discuss because that's security. The town is more secure with our staff, our command staff, our detective division, our patrol unit, because we do a lot of preparation for these events. For people to come here and have a day in Cape May, we're doing our best to protect you because it's a different world right now. Someone will try to attack us one day. I'm not going to be unprepared for it. We'll do the best I can. And Ed, I know you want to talk about the building. We can go there, but
let's get to that in just a second. But Deacon, do you know Brady well? Do you guys know each other well?
Yeah, we do. Not just from eating at his restaurant. I mean, Brady has he's a law enforcement career. He's very good friends with a lot of the Lower Township police officers that I know. He's that smile you see coming in. I see him out in Cape May Point at 7:30 in the morning when he's going out to work and doing his thing. And we've had a lot of contact. And he's a quiet, big, gentle man. But Brady and I do know each other well. Sorry, Brady. I just got to call it what it is.
you know about his background in police then? I
do.
Okay.
And I know his love of law enforcement. There's a lot of things you see Brady do that you don't know about. So he's any event that we've ever had with his organization, just having we've had some challenges over there in Lower, and we've gone over there to eat. He's always opened his doors and been kind to law enforcement, for be it police unity tours, or we had that event with Lower Township where we did a little triathlon over there and different things like that. He also goes down to DC, and he pledges his allegiance to the fallen officers down there, which I admire, because it's hard to get down there. It's hard to look at that wall and to see the men and the women on it and not come to tears. And he respects that. So that's Brady. I appreciate that.
Thanks. Hey, I wanted to bring something up. You hit on a couple minutes ago. And we did a show about this. It would have been great. I know we had the fire chief, Alex, on at one point, and I know the voters have spoken, and they made their decision about what to do with the building. We had Lenny Larkin on, who was the Cape May County union representative for the police officers, and he made some very compelling remarks, and and talked about what it's like for these guys and women to do their job every day and having to deal with two separate locations.
Yeah.
But you just hit on something a couple minutes ago about how it makes the job of the chief a little more difficult.
It does.
Can you talk about that a little bit? And I know at the moment that is, the new police station's off the table, but the new council, new session has given some hints that's going to have to be addressed again.
Correct. Correct. So I did watch that show. I was a part of that group that actually spoke with our rep, Lenny Larkin, who I applaud for coming on and quickly getting his head wrapped around what we were doing, because he doesn't work for us. He works for the Middle Township Police Department. So he was able to meet with our union rep, Derek Murphy, our Chief Marino, and quickly gather our thoughts, because if you understand that time, we wanted to come on. We were kind of just advised against doing that because it was a voting agenda. We, as employees of the city, we were advised not to go on. I was kind of upset with that, but I understood from a political platform where that would have led the voters to think and maybe twisted their minds a little bit. And one thing about the voters and the citizens of Cape May that voted for the two buildings, thank you. Thank you for making a decision that was mindful for you, because that ultimately, I don't pay taxes here. I don't live in West Cape May anymore. I live in Lower Township. So I probably would have had some thoughts about a $15 million building myself, but understanding that the voters have a right to vote, and it was given to them. So I respect them. Our department respects them. And one thing I wanted to let my department know, and one thing that Chief Marino stressed, was to make sure that the staff doesn't get bewildered and get upset or disheartened by the vote. And that's what you'll see. You're not going to see our staff kicking and screaming, "Oh, we didn't get a building. We're going to cry about it." We're proud. We're happy that the fire department is getting a building. We would have loved to be in the same building with them. But I understand that this area is a little bit tight. That row is going to be, structured a little differently. I think it's been touted as maybe a historic row, or, with the church, with the library, with the fire department there. Hey, Michael, how are you? It's one of those things. We will work out of a cardboard box. Working out of the conditions that we work with now aren't the finest. They're not, So most of the staff here comes from humble beginnings. So we're not looking for glitz and glam. We deserve the best, and I want to try to afford that for them. But I understand that it's at a cost. In recent conversations with Manager Vol and Manager Velasco, and Zach as well, the mayor, he's made it clear for me to relay to my staff that we will get a building. We just don't know where. We're going to find some land. We're going to do that. They have a lot of projects going on, a lot of things that they need to fix. And I know that they will. I'm in my 23rd year in this department, 25th, 26th year as a police officer, because I've worked in law enforcement since 1994, 95. So that show that you guys did, I appreciate everyone making the comments. Lenny Larkin coming on. Michael, you made some strong comments there because you have built a building. You were in that position to build a building, and the $5 million mark in this market right now is going to be tough to grab, and the fire department to get everything they want in that. But I feel that council will hopefully be strong enough to give them what they want. And I think the conversation continues now, because we can't wait 3 years to start our building. Lou Velasco and I have talked. He wants to start now and just get everything rolling now, because as he explains to me, there's permitting, there's things I don't understand with CAPRA and everything else. And, he's made it very clear that he's been in contact with me, that he will work with us, with our department, to, hit the angles. And there are some locations that we're going to look at, and we're going to definitely, look at that. And we want to keep it in Cape May. There was talk about putting it in West Cape May or moving it elsewhere, but kind of hard to do. I'm very, I'm in contact with Mayor Sabo. And I spoke to the mayor of Cape May Point, and we just want to do the thing. We have a very unique island here. What Cape May Point residents want and that Borough Commission wants is different than what West Cape May Commission wants. And then it's completely different than what Cape May City wants. From traffic enforcement, for police officers being on the street and around, everyone wants protection, but they want it in a different fashion, so we have to guide that. And Brady, you spoke about having two buildings, very difficult to touch and feel your people because you need to be in, contact. I need to walk down the hallway where someone come in my office in 2 minutes and talk. And, it's hard to do that miles away.
Hey, Deacon, can you touch on a little bit more? Just, I'm probably I think I am the new local on the show. Only been in town for about 5 years, but these guys probably know the answer, but maybe some of our listeners don't. Can you just talk about the arrangement with the Cape May City Police and the way you interact with the rest of the island, including the Coast Guard? Like just a brief overview of how that all works together.
So, as John mentioned earlier, I was the events liaison for the department for 4 or 5 years, and even prior to that, I worked very closely with Lieutenant Lear, who was our lieutenant. He was the events planner, and that's it sounds like a wedding planner, but it's more than that in Cape May because we're races, runs, events. More recently, some of the protests from the Black Lives Matter to the political rallies that came through town. So we work very closely with the Tracing Center, U.S. Coast Guard Training Center. They're Cape May. We are a Coast Guard community. Cape May County is a Coast Guard community, but Cape May, we are Coast Guard. So we house it. Representative Lobiondo, he was very stern with his words when he was here and when he was in office. He made sure that training center was the finest on the East Coast and in the world, almost, I would say. So I'm very proud to work with the men and women down there. I work with the Coast Guard Police Department. Our staff, my detective unit, works with them daily. Our patrol division works with them. And we have an interlocal operation with them where we can go on base, make arrests of civilians. We have their housing down there that is under our command, under our protection as well. So we work very closely with the Coast Guard, and they're great to have. What other agency, on this East Coast has that, dynamic? I'm the police chief of 3 towns. So go elsewhere in Lower Township and Sea Isle City, they have 1 mayor, 1 council, 1 body to answer to. I have 3. So I have 1 city manager to answer to, but the mayor calls me from both towns, and we talk and we interact, and their solicitors and their clerks, and I work very closely with all of them. So.
And like you said, Deacon, 3 very, very different towns.
Yes, very. And then you have the Coast Guard base. It's its own country. You have individuals coming to that Coast Guard base weekly, monthly, from all walks of this country. So you have some young gentleman or lady from Idaho who's never seen the ocean before coming here. We've had people, come here and just not be able to handle being in the Coast Guard and want to get out and being, they go AWOL and they want to, run down the beach. I remember in '99 chasing a young gentleman down the beach because he just wanted to go home to see his mom. We had to get him back to the Coast Guard base and, and make sure he felt home. And they did that, and he stayed. But you have all walks of life coming here. And Cape May Island, as I call it, we're a melting pot. Not to use the word as a country being a melting pot, but we are. We have all walks of life that come here. We enjoy that, and it's from Asians to blacks to whites to indifferent. Everybody comes here.
And Deacon, when you hinted earlier about, you're not a doomsdayer, but you're a preparer for doomsday, and
I am.
Preparation being key. It wasn't lost on me yesterday while we were kind of getting ready for the show. 2 FBI agents gave up their lives down in Florida. They didn't go to work that day thinking, we're going to go serve a warrant and, not go home. And, by the grace of God, we don't get to that extreme here, but there are times where I think, you guys have to prepare for, what happens in North Cape May with a truckload of whatever, or, it's, and, so I appreciate the preparedness aspect.
Yeah, it's very difficult today because we have, people think, oh, Cape May, nothing ever happens here in Cape May. I didn't read it in the paper. I didn't see it on Facebook, so it's not true. We have drugs. We have robberies. We have, things that go on, theft. We've had homicides. We've had officers killed in the Cape May County area doing their job. So I strongly come to work every day with the mindset of this may be my last day, because it's work. It is what it is. All our officers come to work, they put the badge on, they kiss their families goodbye, just like I do, their children and their loved ones, and they come to work to protect this city. And you drive around and you're like happy because you're in Cape May or you're in West Cape May, but the island is not vulnerable. We're very vulnerable to attack, to people. I don't want to scare anybody, but understand we're prepared as best we can, just like any other police department. We're among one of the finest police departments in New Jersey, on the East Coast in the country. So I'll put myself in this department up against any other. We have a young group of officers, a lot of seasoned officers. I respect them, because this job in this office, I can't do anything without them. So just like I've spoken to Chief Coulter about his firemen and women, and mine, police officers, we're nothing without them. We're nothing without our community. We're nothing without, the people that pay for us to be here and to make sure we have the tools to do our job. That's who I
Deacon,
am.
speaking of firemen, good morning, Michael Clark.
Hey, good
Michael.
morning. I'm sorry that I was late, but yeah, I didn't know if you had a chance to talk to Deacon a little bit about his experience as a fireman, but Deacon's a very experienced fireman, and I think that helps him in his job as a police officer as well. An unbelievable, amount of respect for him as far as being a fireman, because it's a volunteer job, but as Deacon knows, it's a very dangerous job as well as police officers. But it makes him more valuable, I think, as a police officer and to the city of Cape May, West Cape May, and Cape May Point.
True. I mean, I decided to do two careers that, shortened my lifespan, other than smoking, So, Michael, I agree. I respect you as far as your position as well. You've been at that in the fire profession as well. You know what it is. You're coming from a rollover where you got out of bed or got out of your office and went to a rollover, not knowing if it was going to be a family member, a friend, a child, a mother going to work, going to school, and you did it, and you're a volunteer. I don't take anything away from the paid guys, but the volunteers, in my heart, that's what I've always been. I volunteer at a lot of things. I'm a Mason. I volunteer with the fire department. We get out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning for that alarm that may not just be an alarm. It might be that call, that time. So, I respect the fire profession immensely. Michael, you know what it is. It's also brought me and grounded me with the ICS conception as far as how things are going. This I need to be prepared. And when I say ICS, I mean the incident command system that we use, and you'll see me use it a lot. We do it on the little things, the little missing children or missing small events, because then when the big things happen, we're prepared. And the firemen do it well. They do it on every single alarm. They set up command. They set up a perimeter. They establish groups. We do that as police officers as well, and we need to continue that, because we've had a lot of events that I've shut this town down before for a pipe bomb in the gas station and different things, and we evacuate people and we move people around. We have the beaches. We're very, very lucky that we've not sustained anything real.
What time did that alarm go off this morning, Mike? What happened?
About 7:40, 7:45. So I knew I was going to be late. But the problem is like Deacon said. I mean, it's an emergency. You don't know how bad it is, who it is, or anything like that. It's just it's ingrained in you. You have to respond. I mean, and I was committed to this show, but I'm also committed to serving my community and getting out there and helping people. So I was up again last night at 1:30 for another fire call. So like Deacon said, it happens all the time, and I just can't roll over and hit like a snooze button. I got if I'm home and I'm I'm able to, I feel like I have to go and respond and help.
That's correct. It's huge. You roll over, hit the snooze button. I mean, that's one less man or woman on the truck, one less hand in the fire, one less hand in the car pulling someone out, reaching in through a window to grab someone out of a building, or your brother out of a building or sister out of a building. So yeah, we can't roll over.
Hey, Deacon, as far as a new police building goes,
Yep.
and when we're glad for the firemen, because that was sorely needed as well. But I've heard talk about a possibility of a substation at the library could happen if you don't get a new building.
Yeah, I mean, there's talk of it. I mean, our building, we're currently in City Hall, so they're trying to maintain it. They're doing some pointing, as the mayor had instructed us and told us in meetings. So we have a lot of leaks here. We have a lot of, sensitive equipment in this building we need to protect. So there was talk about a substation, at the library or elsewhere. The problem is with Cape May is we need to be connected to the mall, and we need to be connected to the people. They need a place to come in and walk in and talk to the police, pay their ticket. So we kind of just need to find a location that works best in this town so that we can be here for the walk-ins, for the people, and a lot of different locations, but we're kind of thin on land. And I know there's been talk about land swaps and different things with, the areas in town. So I don't know all the logistics there, so I can't speak on it. I just know my conversations with the mayor have been genuine in the fact that his desire to get us a police department is real, and that we're going to focus on that, and along with the firemen at the same time.
Deacon, what was your feeling about the open container rule in Cape May this year that can implement it because of the COVID?
That's a great question, Ed.
Yeah, I appreciate that question, actually, because COVID threw us into a world where it was the unknown. These businesses, and I applaud the local businesses for adapting and trying to overcome, because it's, they're used to setting up in, April or May and opening up and being open all summer without any restrictions. And we all had to adapt from enforcement to these businesses. So I applaud the businesses for that. The open container rule for us, and it may be against what council thinks or what some other people think. As far as I'm concerned, and this police department is concerned, it worked for us because Cape May is very unique in the fact that you have the morning bikers on the mall and the boardwalk and people walking around. Then you have the beach goers. Then you have the crowds going to dinner. Then you have the crowd going to ice cream. Then you have the wedding crowds and the old crowds going to the bar and enjoying themselves. That mixes into 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. That's when the treachery comes into play after hours. So having it from 12 to 12 and cutting off alcohol at 12 o'clock, we worked very closely with the ABC. They had to make changes, and I think the last council, they made some concessions to the liquor laws. It worked for us because for us, from a law enforcement standpoint, the alcohol was somewhat over by midnight, and by 1 o'clock in the morning, people were Ubering home safely. I didn't have people stumbling down the mall, and they're enjoying themselves. Don't get me wrong.
I was going to say, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And by 2 o'clock in the morning, it was pretty quiet. I don't have people damaging property down the mall because people get, they get a couple drinks in them and they walk down the mall, and you get the increased domestics, you get the increased bar fights, and nothing against the bars themselves, but people drink and they get butt muscles. And it's clearly what it is. Brady, you have, I don't know that you have that type of riffraff over there, but we get it over here, and people come from out of town, they bump into our locals, and they get a little bit too much drinking, and it causes a problem. But from a safety standpoint, from our staff, I'd rather them be safe than sorry, and then the community be waking up to a brighter community with, less beer bottles around. And we did that. And the open container worked. People were in their little sippy cups, walking around town, doing their thing. We didn't have a lot of issues, in my respect, in the department's respect with it. It worked.
I was going to say, when you saw Wendy walking down the mall at midnight with one, there was no issues.
No, it was in her Yeti, and she kept it.
It was 11:58 p.m. I was under curfew, and it was empty, so there was no problem.
Listen, what's in your Yeti is not my concern. It's how you act with your Yeti in your hand. So act accordingly and do your thing, and you won't have a problem. So enjoy yourself.
Hey guys, like I say, when alcohol's involved, it's not always the typical riffraff that are the people you got to be worried about. It's the people who are well behaved in normal times are the ones you have to look out for when you add some alcohol.
Correct.
But
was that the biggest challenge that you faced with the COVID situation this summer? Was the open container, or from a
the COVID for us was very life altering, department altering, because we had to adapt quickly. And I got to give praise to Jerry Enderwise with that, because he and Chief Marino and the other individuals that Cape May Strong, that I have to applaud that whole group. Laurie Taylor and the people that were part of the mall and the businesses, the bid, they came together to reopen businesses safely, satisfactorily, with masks. I mean, we were tasked with walking down the mall and telling people to put masks on their face. The executive orders came out 2-3 times a day, and they changed with Governor Murphy and his group every day. And to adapt to that on top of doing police work and parking tickets and traffic accidents and fire calls, it's a lot. And Cape May Strong really stepped up. And this community, you saw, we did it different. I couldn't pay attention to anybody else and how they were doing it because we were doing it our way, with masks and sanitizing. We had, worrying about our own families with COVID, trying to get our kids through Zoom and worrying about how that was going to work. I mean, it's very difficult. And it's what you pay us to do, but no one expected to have to do all that. And we're still there. We're going to go into this next summer with that same challenge of trying to get people protected, stay safe, and do that. So it's hard. COVID is not over. The vaccines are not done. Some of my staff has been vaccinated. We gave the option to them to do it. We also gave them the option not to do it. And some of them are waiting till the next phase. But essential personnel were put first after the doctors and nurses, and we're in that phase. And I got to praise the Cape May County Health Department for doing so and keeping us safe and getting the vaccination started. They're important and they're crucial. I answered your question. Sorry.
I got to say something for you, for Tony Marino and the other chiefs. You guys also are dealing with a huge challenge there in that you all work in such close proximity to each other on a daily basis and keeping each other safe. And, God forbid one of your officers contracts COVID. There's a very good chance it's going to spread like wildfire through the department. All the chiefs in the county seem to buy that modified schedule that they went to that allowed for a 2-week period so that if anybody got infected, it allowed you to contain the infected people a lot easier. And I'll tell you what, I hear about stories from other parts of the country where entire departments, police departments, fire departments became infected, and it's a disaster.
It is definitely. I mean, we Chief Marino and Jerry Enterprise, they made some strict rules to push forward, making each officer wear a mask in the car when they're doubled up, having the social distancing in the station. It's very hard. We're family here. It's very hard for me to stay away from my secretary or speak with the detectives about things. And, dealing with City Hall being closed and then dealing with the public, we have our mask, but you got to remember, along with your cell phone, you got to remember your mask and everything else, your keys to your car when you run out the door. I ran all the way up to the Walmart door and forgot my mask and ran all the way back to my car because of the darn mask. So, it was one of those things, but it's challenging. It's going to be continually challenging for this. This is the new flu.
Yeah.
Hey, Deacon, how many officers are there on the staff?
So currently we have 20. With Chief Marino retiring, we dropped to the 19. We have one officer that's detached in the military right now. We have one officer in the academy. So 16 patrol officers, 4 command officers. We're looking to hire some more. We need to get up to speed. We need to hire 3, 4, 5 more. We made a promise to West Cape May and Cape May Point that we would have 5 officers working the street, and a sergeant and 2 officers in each zone. We need to get back to that. We need to strengthen that. We hired 10 Class 2s or so a season. I've spoken in great length with Manager Vol about that. He's been very clear with what we're going to do there and how we're going to move the department forward and getting the proper staffing and the numbers we need, because we need to be safe. I can't have a 3-man squad working over these COVID hours and one guy at the hospital and one guy here. It's unsafe anymore. We need to have at least 4 men and women working a day on the shifts, plus some other personnel. I'd like to get up to 5 a squad, but it's going to be difficult. We understand.
Chief, did we hire last summer? Did we hire fewer Class 2s and Class 1s?
We were definitely shunted with COVID. I had our detectives had interviewed a litany of people. We had 7 prepared to go to the academy, and we had to tell all 7 that the academy was closed because the Cape May County Police Academy, who do a great job, Director DePaul and the Chiefs Association, Cape May County Chiefs Association, do a great job keeping people safe. They had to make the hard decision to cancel that academy, which we were to receive 7. Look at towns like North Wildwood and Wildwood. They hired 30 to 40 people. So they were 30 to 40 people lighter. So enforcement in the city of Cape May was 7 to 10 people lighter. That means less parking tickets, less cops on the mall. I know there's issues with dogs on the mall. So if I have less cops on the mall, I can't address that. And putting a cop on the mall to make sure someone has a mask on and making sure that your dog's not on the mall is a challenge. Which one do I do first? I know it was brought up in last night's council meeting. We're going to address that. We're going to make our best efforts to keep the dogs off the mall and do what we can there, on top of enforcing masks and everything else. So this year, the academies are moving forward with the direction of the Cape May County Chiefs Association and the Director DePaul and his staff, and we're going to do the best we can. We have people lined up right now for the academy. We have an active list for full-time employees, and I'm looking to hire 3 or 4. I need them. We need men and women for this department.
So we've got about 5 minutes left for everybody's knowledge. And you talked a lot about challenges. You're certainly no shortage of challenges for you in this
Nope.
new position. But I wanted to ask a different question. You've been in this business, if you call it a business, your life's work for 25 years. What has
Yep.
been and what do you think of as the most rewarding part of the job?
The give back. What happens after we make an arrest? I've been in this job for 25 years, making arrests, dealing with people. Normally, we deal with people at their very lowest. Either someone's been, they've lost something, something's been stolen from them. They've had an argument with their spouse, and or in a car accident or something. You don't call the police if you're just having a great day. You call the police when your day is not so great. So the rewarding part is doing this job, interacting with the community, and then seeing them later on in the day or walking through a store and them saying thank you. I've arrested a lot of people, and the one thing I get is that I know I did my job when years later, or after they've been incarcerated or after they've been rehabilitated, that they can look at me or our staff and say thank you, because that's what police work's about, is doing the right thing all the time. They talk about integrity, they talk about honor, duty, honor, respect, doing the right thing, and that's what the Cape May Police Department does. They do the right thing. Not that other police departments do different. It's just we just do it different here. We what we do here in Cape May is completely different what you can do in Lower Township. And Wildwood, we deal with a different clientele. People have a different level of expectations when they come to Cape May. So you're dealing with people from New York City, Cape May, and areas like that. That here they expect the police department to treat them differently. A parking ticket is the biggest thing in their life when you deal with it in Cape May, and they're up in upheaval. I spend hours in court on parking tickets when you can go to other places and you just pay it and you're done with it. Keep people here, they'll very angry about parking tickets. So we're different here. We're unique, but we're still good.
Well, I think. Go ahead, Deke.
No, I was just any other questions? I'm here. I know you have short time, so.
Anybody else have anything for Deacon? I think we covered a lot of ground with you, Deacon.
Ed, the one thing before we close real quick, the challenges that we have with COVID and everything else are real, but the challenges that we have with the social economic differences in this country right now are greater. So I want everyone to understand that this department will move forward in doing the best we can. We are in the process of attacking the upper challenge of getting body-worn cameras, less lethal devices of management for people. Our department wants to be transparent, and we will be transparent. The government and this council has told me they want us to be transparent and do the right thing. So we're going to seek that. We want every avenue to protect the citizens, our staff, and be transparent to everybody, treat everybody fairly. It's hard to do. There's people that come through with protest and they want to have a voice. We need to give everyone a voice and protect them at the same time. I can't shun a political group, and I can't shun a Black Lives Matter group or something like that. Everyone has a right to come to the city and have a voice, and we'll do that. As long as you come here peacefully and you respect our town, you can do so. I'll give everyone a platform to speak, because that's what America's about, and that's what Cape May is about, and that's what this police department's about. So thank you for having me on.
Hey, Deacon, real quick, as far as technology goes, is there anything the police force needs in that field? Do you guys wear body cams?
Yeah, we're in contact with Axon, the body camera company, to purchase. The mandate's going to be for every sworn officer having contact with people on the street, uniformed or detective division, has to have a body camera on. So that comes with challenges of where do you store that information? How it's not cloud-based? Where does it go in a server? It's expensive to do so. The cameras aren't cheap. Class 2s have to wear them. Full-time officers have to wear them. I expect, that I have to wear one when I'm out interacting with the public, just to protect myself and the community. We want to do so. So the challenges of how to hire officers, put body cameras on them. It's very expensive for one officer to employ them, uniform them, put a camera on them, put cameras in our car. My radio system right now, we need to go to a digital radio system, and we need to get a better system, because right now our VHF is not the greatest, and we need to spend approximately $215,000, $220,000 just to get radios. Michael, you're aware of that, how that works in the business. So we need to get better. So it's going to be a very big lift, and we're going to ask the council and the others give us the green light to get some of these equipments to make it better for us.
Well, Deacon, thanks for coming on. I know a lot of people wanted to hear from you. I think the city made a great choice. Your resume speaks for itself. And congratulations. We're glad to have you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And listen, everybody on this show, you guys do a great job, because without you guys, without Wendy pushing the button, without John and Ed and Brady and Ed, you guys and Michael, you guys bring the voice out. You expose the good about Cape May, and you talk about things. Reading it in the paper is one thing, but having a different view from all of you is great. People can sit down and share this and look at this later on in the day. And I watch it 9 o'clock at night, sometimes 1 o'clock in the morning if I missed it in the morning. And you talk about the real topics. You can read it in the Star and Wave, you can read it in the Herald, but hearing it right now and asking questions, I think outside of what you guys do, maybe having a call-in session might help you have more answers. People could call in. Not that you want to hear from everybody, because you have to give them a 5-minute limit, but you want to try to voice it. But you guys do a great job, and Cape May is better for having the locals.
That's an interesting suggestion. I mean, we've got.
You may not want to hear what they say, John. If you open the phone lines, oh my goodness, you're going to hear it. And,
I will say something funny though, Deacon, because if we go like a minute over, it doesn't really hurt us with this format. But in the last few days, through the Star and Waves Facebook and my own Facebook, I've written retiring police chief or welcome the new police chief a dozen times. And now all the ads on my Facebook are for concealed carry holsters. Like they think I'm a retiring Leo and I'm going to still carry.
That's just Big Brother paying attention. That's how you know. Don't look up the wrong thing, because it'll be all over your Facebook feed. If you look up the wrong thing on Amazon, you're going to find out it'll be on your Facebook page. I've made that mistake. Yeah.
Hey, Deacon.
Well, congratulations, Deacon. We hope you'll come on periodically, because I think it'd be good for the people to hear, what's going on, because obviously with COVID continuing, there's going to be more changes.
Absolutely.
As we go along, and I think it's important to keep the public informed. So we hope to see you on again.
And communication's key. I need to keep you guys informed. I need to hear what you got to say too. Tell me what you hear. My phone number, it's here. You call the department anytime. 609-884-9500. Give me a call. Let me know what's going on. And, my door is always open. Open door policy here. If I'm not in here, I'm on the street.
And if you also ever want to come on, Deacon, because something's coming up that we're not aware of, please let us know.
I contact with John and Ed all the time, and I see Brady and all the time. So Michael, not so much, but we'll see each other every now and then. And Joe, I see you. So.
Yep.
Well, good luck.
Deacon,
Good luck and Godspeed.
Thank you.
And Deacon, another door that's always open for good coffee at 5 a.m. is the Mission Inn.
There it is. I hear you love their coffee. You're missing it. I know you are. So they'll be open.
When we start to reopen, we might have to do a little socially distanced coffee hour here.
Yeah, listen,
I hope so.
Absolutely. I'll come down and have a cup of coffee, and we can go back to doing shows at Brady's place.
That coffee better be damn good.
Oh,
from what I'm hearing.
Listen,
thank you, guys.
Before we go, Michael, I had a few listeners this week has a question for you. Monday, the governor implemented a state of emergency on Monday, correct?
Correct.
Right. So I've had a few people say, are banks allowed to be closed 2 days in a row? Like if they're closed on Sundays for the most part and a holiday on a Monday, but when there's a state of emergency, can they go 2 days in a row being closed?
I don't know that answer for sure. I just know that normally banks don't want to be closed. And I think it's always been our policy, unless it's mandated by like the state of emergency or something like that, banks normally aren't closed.
Okay. All right, because I know they were closed on Monday, and people were saying, are they allowed to close again on Tuesday if they have to, and Wednesday? I said, we got a banker on the show. Let me ask them.
Yeah, well, we weren't closed. We were open. I mean, the lobbies.
I was going to say Sturdy was open Monday.
Yeah, the lobbies are closed still due to COVID and some other things, but the drive-thrus were all open, so we were open.
And the last note of the show, Wendy, guys, you'll see our last names who we are. Our last names are up there. But I'm curious, Mr. McLaughlin's last name is not up there. It's like,
I don't know how do you do that?
who,
I mean,
Mike,
I saw Deacon earlier.
I wouldn't pick on Joe as much as I would pick on Michael, whose last name is iPad294.
Yeah, I don't know how that gets on there. And listen, I'm not a tech guy. I just know how to sign on and sign off. That's it. So
I was going to say, what the heck does Joe have to hide? I put his last name up there.
I don't know how to do it.
Chief Dekon Fashaw figured it out. Joe will figure it out.
Mine said Chief Marino, so I had to change it quickly because this is his computer.
The chief is still a lieutenant on Facebook, so we'll have to update his Facebook
I'll
profile.
change it. We'll fix that.
Oh, give me a call, Joe. We'll hook you up.
All right, Wendy.
And
All right,
yeah,
guys.
iPad Mike, you're going to have to get that off there somehow. Hey, guys, I have one subject I want to talk to you about after we shut down. If you can hang just for like another minute.
Sure.
All right. All right. So welcome to the locals, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show with Deacon.
Thank you.
And we'll be back again, episode 138 very soon. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to the locals. Okay.
Here. Have a great day.
Yeah.